button. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are in the How to Start a Nonprofit 501c3 nonprofit universe group. That's a big old name.
It is,
It's called
right.
SEO. We are kicking off the year with our Meet the Experts series. And Marilyn, you get to be first. You get to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, I am the guinea pig. Oink, oink, okay? Oink, oink.
So,
Yeah.
so this is Marilyn Green. For those of you that don't know, she is our expert grant writer, one of them. We have a
Mhm.
few, but Marilyn's expertise in particular is getting you grant ready. And so she is here in the group to help answer grant questions, and especially those questions that deal with what do I need to do before I apply for a grant.
Mhm.
So, welcome, Marilyn,
Thank you. Thank you so
and
much for having me.
you're welcome. And let's dive in. So, as people have seen on the Monday post, a little bit about you, and it
Mhm.
said that you had experience as a grant reviewer and a grant writer. So, tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay, good. Great, great. First of all, in 2003, I started to deal with grants on the program side, meaning that it always takes a team, right? And it might be a team of one, but it's a team. Okay. It always takes a team. And when you're doing a team, you have to put your part in. So my first encounter with grant writing was then when I needed to put in the program part of it. So that was 2003. 2005, I started to be a federal grant reviewer. So since then, I've been a federal, state, local, non-for-profits, whomever. Recently, I'm going to do something for a commissary, believe it or not, in a prison system. So that's a whole different look, So I've done grant reviewing for SAMHSA, substance abuse and mental health. I've done it for suicide prevention. Behavioral health is pretty much my thing. So capacity building, pretty much the whole scope. And again, but I've done it before. I really love reviewing the most. I like writing, but I love reviewing the most. And she didn't ask me that, so I better not go. You want me to keep expounding?
You're fine. You're fine. Now,
Okay.
well, for a lot of people in the group, I would think one of their questions is, what is a grant reviewer?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that might be a new term for them. And
Okay.
then I'd also like for you to kind of tell me about how that unique skill really helps you, professionally and
Mhm.
personally in the grant writing process.
Okay, a grant review is no different than your teacher grading you. That's the easy, funny, skinny of it, right? You have an actual guide or evaluation sheet that you follow, and it is following exactly what they ask you for. So they put points to things. Certain points have 15, and most of the time it adds up to 100. Sometimes, depending on what the grant is, they may give you a little extra based on where you live or some of the things that are happening in your community. But for the most part, it's most of the time it's 100%. So we get to grade and start you off with 100, and then the good things or the not so good things that you do will make that score come down to a lower score. Now we'll throw in that the high, and sometimes they don't have scores, but I'm gonna tell you now that the biggest thing you need to concentrate on is how are you gonna spend that money. Just a quick tip, how are you going to spend that money? So that's what a reviewer is. And how does it make me better? Because I know exactly what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. That's the part of me, Alesha, that's the grant coach. And the grant coach, I coach people for as little as 2,000 up to 4 million. Just looking at exactly what they were doing, what they were not doing, making sure that things was crystal clear and concise, succinct. Make sure that I can see what you're writing. If I can't see what you're writing, then I almost want to say you might as well not write it. But that's what the grant reviewer and how it makes me unique in that I have eyes for both sides. I can see the writing and making sure I put your passion on paper. And I also can see how to review it and how to tighten it up and strengthen what you're writing.
Right. And that's one of the things that I really love about you.
Thank
And
you.
and one of the reasons why you're an expert is because having that side of the table, the reviewer side of the table, is just invaluable when you're writing a grant, because if you've never been a reviewer, you really don't know how they think
No.
or what's going on. And so having your set of eyes on a grant, I think is really cool. And in case anybody missed it, you said that you've been a grant reviewer on the federal, state, and local level, which means you have worked for state government, federal government, and local foundations, and you've been the one that they sent the grants to and that you actually looked through.
Yeah,
So,
you actually, in fact, on that, Alesha, I've been on the preliminary part because if we think about, and I think we may touch on it later about the grant process, in the grant process, sometimes it's a preliminary part where they're looking at you. Number one, I look at you first. I'm the preliminary team. And then my job is not to weed you out, but a lot of people get weeded out on the beginning. And then there's another part of it that may do the final part of saying, okay, they are the ones, we're going to look at them a little bit harder. We may have a different type of evaluation tool that aligns up the same, but it may be a little bit more stringent. So yeah, I've been in all of it, and I really like doing it. I really do. And can I add something in here? Alesha, you didn't ask me, but that's the reason why I developed my course, to teach you how to do it, based on I looked at so many, and so many people were missing the mark and didn't quite understand grant writing. That's when I decided to develop it and make it in such a way that is so simplistic that you actually get it. Grant writing is about getting it, okay?
right.
And once you get it, then it doesn't matter. You can write any type of grant for anybody. So yeah.
Yeah, and since you brought it up, you have not only a grant ready class, but you have a grant writing class too.
I do.
So
I do.
important for us to know.
Mhm.
Okay, so you already kind of talked about it, but can you tell us about the grant process?
Sure. The grant process, the easiest way, I made a note here. Okay, the easiest way for the grant process is that you find a suitable grant proposal, right? Because everything is really a proposal, a grant proposal. The application is a proposal. It's just like somebody's getting married. I'm proposing that I will do this if you give me X amount of dollars. I'm proposing that I would do this for your life if you marry me. It's the same thing. So the first thing the first thing you have to do is really get the suitable proposal. And if I can stop there for a minute, the proposal has to be suitable for your mission and your vision. Okay. It should not be suitable just for your pocketbooks only, meaning do not chase money. If it's not the vision and the mission, then don't do it, because it's going to change the way you look. And the best, I'm always a person that's going to give you an analogy or parable or whatever you want to call it, that said, if you start off looking like a duck, you need to keep on looking like a duck. Don't let nothing change you. You start looking like some other bird, a cardinal bird, or whatever. Don't let it change you. So you got to find the right one that's a great fit. After that, you're going to make sure that you read it really well. Get your whole team together, because the CFO or the person that's doing the finances, she has different eyes than you do. Okay. You even need the person, if you're going to be trying to write for a program, you need the person that is down the street on the block of that after school program. You need her there too. Okay. You need a youth person. I mean, a child there or a youth there. Everybody needs to look at this grant and they need to have some input. So that's part of it as well. And then after that, you need to decide who's going to write the different parts of this grant. That's pretty much the process of just getting it out there. Now, when you start talking about who's going to write whatever, make sure you choose carefully. Okay. And the biggest part that I find is the issue is when they ask you about evaluation, Alesha, about how will you know that you're there? What are the outcomes? And so many times, depending on the amount of of the actual grant funding, you may have to hire a actual evaluator. All right. And if you do have to hire one, make sure that he is talking to the other people who are doing the application as well, the proposal as well. Because I find so many times that that person is talking Greek and the other person is talking, I'm just going to say Polynesian. I don't know. They talking something. They are not talking the same. So herein, I'm saying that whoever you hire to do the evaluation piece, make sure that they're talking to everybody, at the same time. So then you get it all together and then you just submit it. Now, that's the easy, skinny part. But the part that you need to do before is that in your community, they need to know what you're doing. All right. Mm-hmm. In your region, they need to know what you're doing. Statewide, if you can, they need to know what you're doing. So it's so many that's the easy part, what I just told you, step 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. But it's a lot of things that you have to do at the time before, during, and perhaps after. You may have to just say, hey, I just wrote a grant, for this, that, and the other, hint, hint. Okay, so that they could put in a good word for you. So it's many, many facets to write a grant. It's just not putting something on a piece of paper, Alesha. It's so many things that you have to do that comes in and variables that come to play to say whether or not I'm going to get that funding.
Right. And then, of course, the follow-up afterward is important.
Yes.
I mean, when I say process, I mean, it truly is a process from being grant ready. And sometimes grant ready means just being ready for that particular grant.
Exactly.
And you go through all of that process and then the planning and then the actual writing, which I've always been told the planning is about 80% and the writing's about 20%.
Right. I mean, and what's so important about that is to know these different percentages and to understand that. I think if someone would ask me, what would you say about grant writing? I would say it's not easy and it takes time. Right. Yeah. That's it, and you got to come with your information. So there's a pre-grant process time period, and there's a post, and you talked about it. And the post is one of the most important things for me because so what, they give you the money, but you don't have the team in place in order to carry out. You might have the program for the deliverable, but you don't have that person to make sure that the reports are in on time. Okay.
Right.
Make sure that you're following the guidelines, making sure that this line item right here is the line item with that justification or that narrative, and everything fits in there nicely. I got a call from one of my former students, and she asked me, she said, Marilyn, they put this over here in this line item. I said, so what's your justification, your narrative? I said, does it fit? She said, no, it doesn't. So sometimes that'll happen, that people within your organization will try to take money, commingling of funds, whatever you want to call it. They want to take money from one line item and move it somewhere totally that's wrong. You can get in big trouble for that. And if you want to move and change a line item, you have to be in communication with the funder. And say, this is the reason why. The biggest thing that happened was the COVID-19. A lot of line items were being moved around based on COVID-19, but people were in communication with the funder. You don't just do things on your own. And so that third part, or that third phase, is grant management. It's very important that you get somebody that's detail orientated and understand exactly what the deliverables are.
Right. And I know we've talked about this before, and I kind of think of it as the pre-grant, the grant ready part, and that's having the capacity. So if you ask for $150,000 grant and get it, well, now you've got to be able to spend those funds. You've got to be able to do what you said you were going to do.
Exactly. And you're
right
I know about that.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that too. And that's kind of something that founders get in trouble with, isn't it?
Yes. Everybody, ultimately, whoever is the CEO, whoever it is, right, they're going to be in trouble, right? And so you have to make sure that you have everything lined up correctly. And that takes time to get everything in order, get the right person that's going to do money, the credible person. And also, I've just started thinking, if you decide to collaborate with somebody, you're held responsible for that collaborator not doing their job. If they get your money and they spend that money anyway, it's not on them. It may be on them a little bit, but for the most part, it's on you. And you have to know that you need to spend that money right. And let me get on the subject you were just talking about. Okay, this is wild. Don't bite off more than you can chew, right? Because I know a group that I advise, do not go for that grant. You're not ready, right? They went for the grant, they lost the grant. They lost the grant, and because they didn't have the infrastructure built in with that board at the beginning, and they didn't know how to use that money, the reporting, the communication, and all that, so you can get the money, but you can lose the money and your reputation just that fast. So you always want to be grant ready, or if you can't do it yourself, you need to hire somebody. You need to get somebody to come in and handle that thing for you. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's a really good reason why most funders will not award grants to organizations under 3 years old. It's because you don't have your stuff together.
You do not. And so many people will come in and say, well, Marilyn, I want you to get a grant. I'm like, okay, so how long you been doing this? Okay. Passion will get you a grant, but will it help you keep the grant? Right? Okay. Right. You might have passion, but you can't keep the grant because you're not solid enough. And so many people get into that trick. I'm going to give me a non-for-profit. It's going to be a 501c3, and then I'm going for grants. Okay. Yeah. And I'm like, no. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I just said, some people can get a grant. They just said, oh, I like you, get the grant. But you're not strong enough in order to keep the grant because you don't understand how to do the grant. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happens. And then they lose it. Yeah. And it's like, oh boy, now what? So yeah.
Well, and I think that's an important point that you've made too, is that you can get awarded grants, and if you're not doing what you say you're going to do, or you're not spending the money, you can have to give money back.
Exactly.
So, something that I don't think a lot of people understand either, especially when you're new to the grants game, is that you do have to give back money if you don't do it the right way.
Exactly. You always have to have your receipts, as they say, or you need to substantiate exactly what's going on. And that will keep you straight anyway, and then you build a culture within your organization of, we're going to go line by line of what we're supposed to be doing. And please do not, I'll say something funny. My mother said, I do not want any numbers on my chest. Okay. And you don't want numbers. You don't want numbers on your chest, and you don't want them to say, turn, let's take a picture, So if you don't want it,
I just got it.
You get it. My mother said, I want no numbers on my chest. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So if you don't want any numbers on your chest, then you need to do the right thing, and take your time. It's okay to take your time and build that foundation strong, and I'm just crazy like that. I think about the three little pigs. When the wolf come, it won't blow your house down. Okay. So it's all fun in this, and it's a beautiful thing to get funding for your dream, for your passion. But there are so many little details that you got to make sure that you have in order to make sure that you do the funder's money right. And put yourself in the funder's shoes and say, if I gave this much money, wouldn't I want them to do my money right? And the answer is yes, I would. So it's, so that's where it is.
Okay, so what is the first thing aspiring founders need to know about grants or grant writing?
What they need to know is it takes time, and it's not easy. It's not easy. And everybody's not designed to do it right away, and I just think that it's this big myth, like I talked about earlier, of saying, I get this, I get that, then I'm gonna get a grant. Okay. And I'll say it again, you just need to build, make it strong, make it strong. Take a bunch of classes. Okay. Go take some grant writing classes, all different kinds from all people, free, or if you got to invest the money, invest the money. Okay.
Right.
And learn how to do it. A lot of people will tell me, at least, well, I don't want to learn how to do it. But guess what? If you get somebody else to do it, they can just sell you anything and you'll believe it. So you really need to know exactly what somebody is doing with your child. That's what it is, the child. Okay,
Right.
that's your baby. So I would say that they just need to go and just get themselves developed a little bit more. That's what
Right.
I would tell them, developed in every area, for themselves, professionally developed, and even get your team developed. Take a class, invite your team. In fact, invite your board. All right. Invite your board and everybody take a class or get some type of professional somebody, so you will know exactly what you're doing or what you're not doing. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would tell them. That grants are not the answer per se. Grants, I mean, my colleague on his, Alesha, she is the queen of build your donor base. Okay. So so building a donor base, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense what she's saying, because in the long run, if grant money runs out or the federal government say, no, we're not going to be funding this year, we're going to be funding this year, and you happen to be the one they funded before. So what do you do? What do you do? So, so let me just talk a little bit about this. That's when you talk about sustainability. All right. Sustainability is huge as well. And sustainability looks different from everybody else. But sustainability, true sustainability to me, is that if you don't get that grant money, can you still provide the community for what you said you wanted to do? Is the need is still there? So you need to understand that you need to have something in place for sustainability if you don't get the money. So
Right. And that's where donors come in.
that's
Because
right.
one of the sustainability things that you can always say is that, we have X number of donors that have been donating, an average of X amount per year, and we plan on growing that.
Yes. Yes.
So
And that's the answer. That's the answer that they put down for real. They put that down.
that's
Said,
the right answer, huh? Uh-oh. Well, we just had some technical difficulties and we're back now. So let's jump in to our frequently asked questions. We actually didn't have any questions in the group, amazingly enough. So I actually came up with some. So, first off, what are some of the common questions you hear when it comes to new nonprofits and grants?
okay. So for everybody that's looking, I got a little piece of paper. Okay. I forget things sometimes. So the first thing they always say, can you help me get funding? And my answer is, what do you have in place? Okay. Do you have a program, an event, an initiative? What do you have? Okay. But all they say is grant, right? Oh my God, I want a grant, blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about the foundation of a thing. Okay. I want to do this and that, but they don't have any concrete, no concrete. That's the one, they don't have anything to give, and they don't understand that a grant writer takes what you say and then they put massage it, okay, if you will, and they add what they need to add to make sure that it is running along with what your funder is asking for. Certain words they need to have in there, certain things of that nature. So you really do the bulk of the work, if you will. And the grant writer comes in to help you and to guide you and then fix it up and make it really nice. So that's some of the main, can you give me some funding? I need help. So that's the main one. That's the big one.
Right. And you have to have things like a budget and a program. You got to know how you're going to provide the services, who you're providing them to, what the need is in your community.
Exactly. You have to have something before you start telling the grant writer, I just need you to write me a grant. I'm like, okay, what you mean? What are you doing? So yeah, you're right, Alesha. You gotta have some. You gotta have some.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, you and we actually had talked about grant readiness. So
Mm-hmm.
let's kind of go back and really talk about what is grant readiness and how do organizations get grant ready?
Okay. They can get grant ready by I always say go take a class, okay, and find out, or you can get it online or whatever. But the difference in the class and getting it online is that the person should explain to you the why. Okay.
Mhm.
Once you get the why, then you understand it. Getting grant ready to me is that depending on type of grants that you're going to be looking for, you have to have everything in order. If you look at a grant, for example, and they ask you to have this type of skill set for your personnel, then you need to go get that person ready, right? If they're
Mhm.
asking for RNs, then you need to, they don't want CNAs, they want RNs. So getting ready for what normally happens in some of the grants you look through, you can look at what you're wanting to do, what they're asking for. Go get ready. If you have a grant or a program and it requires that you have some evidence-based practices, go and get everybody skilled, get the certification. If you have a program where it requires people to drive around, get their driver's license. All right. Things of that nature, the detail of a thing is what you need when you talk about, to me, when I talk about grant ready, that I am ready to have everything in order for me to get this grant. If they ask you for what is that? The big one is offender. Have you done the background check? Have you done all that? Maybe they might ask you, give me the emergency protocol of what will happen if you have a transitional living home. What will happen? Things that are small but are very large because they're going to ask you for it. So you might as well look at the grant, and maybe you don't have everything, but guess what? Keep the grant, go down the checklist, and get yourself ready for next time. So no is just a delay. It just delay is not a no. You can get delayed, but it gives you an opportunity to get yourself together, so you have the basics. So if they come and add something or they take something away, you got it together. I've seen grants where they take things out because as a grant reviewer, it's just cumbersome. Oh my God. Okay, so then they pull it all the way out, So that's what it talks about. Let me see if I got anything else on my notes here.
Yeah. Well, and I know too, there's often attachments that they want. So they want to
Yes,
see an operational budget. They want to see a project budget. They want to see a list of your board members. They
yes,
want to know if they participate or what percentage is participation. I've seen
yes,
that one before.
yes. They do level of effort. They
Mm-hmm.
do. They set the percentages. I mean, if something requires that person has a bachelor's degree, then you need to go on and get that information. If they ask for the resume, a resume is different from a bio sketch. You need to know the difference in that. So
Right.
it's a lot of things. You need to know the difference between a program budget and an operational budget. You also need to have some of the funders who funded you before. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Then you need to have something that some of the people, maybe you might have support letters. Okay. Support letters is huge. They may ask for it or they don't. Or you might need to have your politician write you a nice note, or your collaborators have the note. So, and as far as the note, I've seen they basically have the same note, but they just signed it different and put it on letterhead. So you can you can get that. I'm not saying it. I'm not, but I've seen it. I'm saying it's the same letter, but the difference in the letter is almost similar to an MOU. I mean, that's another one, MOU, a memorandum of understanding. If you need that, saying that what's that program X or organization X said that they will be part of recruiting for our program, that they're going to also do some of the classes for our program, what percentages are they going to do it, and how much money are we going to give them? So
Right.
that's little details, but they want to see it because they will ask. We need to know who, we need to know what, and we need to know how much. You might have a letter and don't have the how much in it. That might be a percentage that they take off, a point they take off. You don't want to lose anything. So
Right.
it takes time in order to get it together so that you'll be ready. As they say, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? So
That's
yeah,
right. So was
yeah.
there anything on your list we hadn't covered?
Okay, let's see here. Well, what are the typical challenges faced by nonprofit founders in the grant writing process and how they can overcome it? Most of the time they don't take a class or they don't get coached. They don't take the time to do that. So take a class, all the classes that you can afford, take the class, okay? Then they let their passion make them think it will come across in writing. They writing it and then they like, I know they feel me. I know they get it because I get it. Okay.
Right.
No, you need to have, and another thing, they don't have a compelling need statement. Let's talk about that real quick. A need statement is drawing me in to you. If I see your need statement is compelling, like, oh, I can't wait to read the rest of it. It's like a good story, right? And so you're telling me what's happened in, I'll just say Kansas City, Missouri, and I don't live there, but you do, and you know that there is a need. So guess what? You're going to make me think that and I tell my class, I'm sitting on the front porch with some lemonade looking outside, and I can see what you're telling me. If you can get that clear, then that's compelling. And a compelling need statement is what you need, and it starts off the process because we're going to read that first. And then we're going to say, okay, so they say they got this. Now, tell me how you're going to do it, right? So it just moves how you going to do it and who you going to do it with. Who's on your team? So, yeah, it's a lot of little parts to it, but there are parts to what you want to give a well-oiled machine.
Right. Okay, well, that's all the questions I have. And so I just want to remind everyone that you are available in the comments for any kind of grant question or grant ready question. And whenever you have your classes, we'll be sure to make everyone aware that they're out there. And I agree with you. Even if you don't ever want to write a grant, you should invest in a class and go to it and just really understand it, because it makes you so much more effective when you're talking to the grant writer.
Exactly.
You speak the same language. You understand when they say I need outcomes, you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what that is. Let me get that to you.
That's exactly right, Alesha.
And you'll save a whole lot of time with the grant writer.
That's right. But it's true about life. It's as a woman, if you go into a Valvoline and start talking about different things under your hood, they treat you different. It's the same. They say, oh, she knows a little bit. Yes, she does. Okay, I've done it before. So, but the same with grant writing. The more you know, and as they say, the further you can go. And it just makes it easier on that grant writer when you know the language.
Right.
And you get it, the outcomes, the inputs, the outputs, the whatever, that just makes my heart merry. That's all I can say. So yeah.
Well, and I'm also into scammers. And when you know a little something about grant writing and the lingo, you can weed those scammers out like that.
Yes.
Because they don't know.
They don't know. They don't know. And they don't know, and they give a bad answer. You can ask the question, so what is the outcome? Okay, are you going to be doing long term? Are you going to be doing short term? What's the difference in them? Okay.
Yeah, or even what is your award percentage, or how many grants have you gotten, and how much, and who are they?
Yes. And do they have a website? Can I go look them up? And those type of questions, that you got to ask them.
Right.
What have you really been doing? That can prove to me that you're not trying to scam, because they are out there bad ever since COVID-19. Oh my goodness,
they are.
It's just really. Why would you do? Well, I know why, but nevertheless.
Yeah. So our number one takeaway is to get yourself educated, at least with enough information that you can talk to a grant writer and you can know if they are on the up and up.
Yes, that is the big takeaway for me, to say, please just do your homework. That's what it is. Do your homework.
Right.
And but all is well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being in here with us. And don't forget, the people that are watching this, don't forget to tag Marilyn Green in your comments or questions, and she'll be glad to come in there and tell you all about it
All
and
about
help maybe get things straightened out. And if you're looking for a legitimate grant writer, looking to get grant ready, she's also your girl.
That's it. That's it. Because I tell you what, I shoot from the hip. Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get you straight and tell you,
that's
hey,
true.
yeah. So
And that's
just
one thing I like about you too, is if they aren't grant ready, I mean, nowhere near grant ready, you'll tell them you're not going to take their business if you can't help them.
no, I will not. I cannot. I cannot. It's unethical. That's not me. It's
Yeah.
like, no, no, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Okay. And so yeah, I am gonna tell you the truth that sometimes they don't like it, but I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to tell you the truth to save your life. How about that?
Well, when you get told the truth, it saves you time and it saves you money, and you can start focusing your energy on the stuff that's going to get you what you want.
That's exactly right. That's where I am. So hey, you guys, just like Alesha say, tag me and stuff. If I don't know, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. That's another thing. If I do know, I'm gonna try to make sure that I give you the best answer of
Mhm.
it, and or else I'm going to research and then find it out. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
who I am.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see y'all later.
All right, take care. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.